Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 20th day of September. Got a jam-packed show in tonight. A lot of breaking news. I mean, the poop had hit the fan in Chicago. Rams, I'm not going to talk too much about that story, but Rams finally traded Cam Akers to Minnesota. Got Keith Engle. Great segment coming up in about 30 minutes, folks. Got Keith Engle from TGI Sports coming in around 30 to 35 minutes past the hour. He will be in to talk college football. Going to ask him some Deion Sanders, not big games, monster college football games coming in. Going to talk about Joe Burrow. Good scope, bad scope. Did not get to that yesterday. Jeremy Ballrick, great guest. Came in early, stayed late. Didn't get a chance to get that in there, but that means he does like the program, which is a good sign, okay? Let's go ahead and get our first and only break out of the way. We'll hit the ground running here on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. Okay, I'm live here. Okay, now, also, yes, Keith does know the Patriots. I'm going to ask Keith about Mac Jones. Is Mac Jones, you guys know my opinion of Mac Jones now in 2023 season. The guy, it seems like everything's got to be perfect for this team to win with Mac Jones. Going to get Keith's perspective on that. Again, he'll be in about between 30 and 35 minutes past the hour. John Restano, I'm sure you'll probably watch this show replay out of my friend. He lives in Buffalo area, but he grew up a big Chicago Bears fan. For those of you who hadn't been keeping up today, a big pile of crap hit the Bears, hit the fan here, cleaning it up, right? S word that rhymes with it, all hit the fan. A big pile of it, Pickles, like you're cleaning up cow or horse manure, and he threw it in a giant fan, and it hit the fan, and it made and it splattered everywhere. The defensive coordinator has resigned. Justin Fields kind of let his guard down and said what he really thought this morning. Then he had to backtrack his comments. You know, they're 0-2. They lost to one of the worst teams, I think, that will finish at the end of the season in Tampa Bay last week. You know, he's standing in the pocket 4 and 5 seconds. He's not processing fast enough. He explains it, and he takes a shot at the coaches, but he goes in depth. I'm not like the rest of the media. I'm going to give his full comment in context. We'll play this, and we'll let you be you decide where he's coming from here, okay? This was this morning. This is what got him into a little hot water. Justin Fields this morning about coaches putting too much on his plate. And, you know, he needs to be, quote, him. But I'll let you hear it in his words. Justin Fields this morning with the Bears.
Of course, you know, things that I didn't like, I felt like, you know, I wasn't necessarily playing my game. Felt like I was kind of robotic and, you know, not playing like myself. So, you know, my goal this week is just to, you know, say F it and just go out there and, you know,
F it, just go out there.
How I know how to play football. And that's not, that includes thinking less and just going out there and, you know, instincts rather than just so much, so to say, info in my head, data in my head, and literally just going out there playing football. I mean, just going back to it's a game, and that's it, because that's when I play my best is when I'm just out there playing free, being myself. So I'm gonna say kind of just don't follow the what I should do, but this and that, like pocket stuff, like I'm gonna go out there and be me. So yeah.
When you are playing late, you play like yourself.
Here comes the bullet shot here.
See, so.
When you say thinking less, what do you think was causing you to think so much, maybe think too much?
Could be coaching. I
See?
think. But
Now, a lot of the media just left it at that. What makes you think too much? I don't know, coaching. And they left it at that. And I'm going to let him give his full context here. So that's what caused the firestorm when you see just that quote right here. Let's listen up. Justin Fields this morning.
At the end of the day, it makes it, they're doing their job when they're giving me, what to look at, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I can't be thinking about that when the game comes. I prepare myself throughout the week, and then when the game comes, it's time to play free at that point. So, just thinking less and playing more.
And Justin, we've heard this before from other athletes. There's just too many coaching voices in your head at this point that you're trying to process so much. Is that part of what you're saying?
I don't think it's too many coaching voices, but I just think when you're fed a lot of information at a point in time and trying to think about that info, like when you're playing, it's like it doesn't let you play like yourself. You're trying to process so much information to where it's like, if I just simplified in my mind, I would have did this. Like I saw a few plays on Sunday to where if I was playing like my old self, like we would have had a positive play. Like there would have been, a few more third down conversions. So I think that's the biggest thing for me is just, playing the game how I know how to play it, how I've been playing it my whole life. So that's what I got to get back to doing. So.
And there was a few times you felt like you were in rhythm and you liked it.
Yeah. So later on that day, today, this is Justin Fields this afternoon having to clarify what he said this morning.
Quote out of context when we can just say that. If you paint the picture on the inside out, like y'all are trying to split us up as a city. I'm not blaming anything on the coaches. I'm never going to blame anything on the coaches. Never going to blame anything on my teammates. I will take whatever happens in the game, I will take all the blame. I don't care. It's a drop pass. It should have been a pass. Put it on me. But never when you hear anything come out of my mouth to where I will blame it on somebody else in this organization, my teammates, never will you hear that. So I just want to clear that up and just know that, like, I need to play better. That's it. Point blank. If y'all, that's what I should have said in the first place. But, I was trying to give y'all more details because, I appreciate y'all for doing what y'all do. And I try to give y'all the information y'all want for you guys' job. So I'm going to do that. And in the future, but I ask you guys just to put the whole quote out. Don't cut it up into words and pieces to make it seem like I'm saying something I'm not. So, appreciate
No, I don't blame him for that. I mean, don't just leave it off at coaching. Let him explain the rest of it. That's all clickbait and everything. A lot of that for you bettors out there, and I'm going to do a fantasy show tomorrow. That is code for rushing yards for Justin Fields. They're 12.5-point underdogs. I want to say they're playing at Kansas City. He's going to run like the wind blows come Sunday because he realized that he is on the verge of getting moved out, of this. So that's one note. That is one note. Okay. The Bears, like everyone else, have Matt Eberflus, a defensive-minded head coach. I wrote these notes down while I was preparing for today's program. And in this era, offensive-minded driven is the league right now, folks. It is the league. I mean, Mike Tomlin, Bill Belichick are both 1-3. Both have been blown out recently in the past few years. Both have not had the best playoff record, especially Tomlin in the last few years. But Belichick getting blown out because of his lack of explosion on his offense in the last few years. You have to have, if you are defensive-minded head coach and there's, by the way, there should not be a term defensive-minded head coach or offensive-minded head coach. You should be head coach. And kudos to Pete Carroll. He's a defensive-minded head coach, and he had a chance to go get a defensive lineman with one of his first 2 picks, and he took Najigma, wide receiver from Ohio State. Mike Vrabel here in Nashville went heavy in offense in free agency, first-round pick, offensive guard / tackle at Sonorski, second-round pick, quarterback. He's understanding, okay? But if you are any kind of coach in the NFL from 2023, the data bears that out. Look at the last 4 champions, folks. Okay, you have to have. If you are a defensive-minded head coach, you take over a new team, and you are working hand in fist. You are working side by side with that general manager and that ownership. You have to have. We got to get your quarterback right. That's a given. But you've got to put that money into that offensive line, and particularly if you're breaking in a new quarterback, you defensive-minded head coaches do not want to hear this, but you're going to have to overcompensate. You're going to have to overcompensate that quarterback with offensive weapons. And the reason why this is such leaning an offensive-minded head coach in league right now is an offensive-minded head coach would tell, okay, for one thing, okay, we're gonna simplify it for Justin Fields, but I'm also gonna call him out when he's sitting in that pocket 4 and 5 seconds. Okay, a lot of people saying do away. I mean, Jeremy Baldrick was saying do away with Poles. I think Poles, the general manager, did a good job. He got him a tackle in the first round. He got him a DJ Moore, a more than capable route running wide receiver. They re-signed his tight end. They traded for Claypool, who's, that didn't work out, but the effort was there, and they've got Mooney there. So there's no excuse there, but it's on that staff to tighten that up and make that language like a Andy Reid, make that easier for that quarterback to understand. You've got to play to these quarterback strengths. Don't try to shove your system. Don't try to shove your system on this quarterback. All right. So you've got to get the offensive line. You've got to spend the money because they do not want to practice. We got so many injuries out there right now because players do not want to practice. They've got this in the CBA. There's less time now in preseason. So that hurts the offensive line more than anything. That hurts the development of offense because it takes longer to development. It's more creation rather than the destruction like defense per se. I mean, the Steelers look terrible Monday night. They scored on 2 defensive touchdowns, for crying out loud. The Patriots, I think everything has to go perfect. But Belichick's not leaning into this new era. You've got to lean into this new era to survive in 2023 football. I'm out of Nashville. Jeff Fisher, 20 years ago, was supposed to be the next great coach. Multiple playoff appearances for Fisher, a Super Bowl playoff appearance for Jeff Fisher. Now he can't get a job in the NFL because when he was coaching for the Rams 7-8 years ago, Eric Dickerson, the LA audience, they said he's running a high school offense. What is he doing? Sean McVay, offensive-minded guy, takes the same roster, adds a left tackle, and takes Jared Goff and that team to the Super Bowl. The same team that got the number 1 pick. A few adjustments takes them to the Super Bowl. That's the league we're in, whether you call them techno geeks or anything. But the offensive-minded head coach, they talk to you have to be assertive with these quarterbacks and say, listen, man, if you can't do X, Y, and Z, you need to do J, K, and L. Let's see if we can do J, K, and L. So we're going to draw up J, K. If you can't do J, K, and L, you can't do X, Y, and Z. In other words, some kind of read option or something. We can't use you in this league, man. There's a flood. A flood of potential quarterbacks coming up next year. Schroeder Sanders, the Duke quarterback, Caleb Williams, Drake May, Penix from Washington. These guys, your Mac Joneses, your Justin Fields, you guys are on notice, man. Kirk Cousins, Zach Wilson, all these guys are on notice right now, you know. But so what? Listen, if I'm in charge of this team here, I'll probably do away with Fields, and I'll probably do away. Well, first of all, I would try to see if I can upgrade from Eberflus. If I can get a Lincoln Riley or former Bear Jim Harbaugh. If I can't do that and I can't find a standout guy that's offensive minded, then I'll probably go out and get another coordinator there, okay, and do that and simply just go out and trade him off to a better situation, Justin Fields. There'll be an offensive-minded head coach that thinks he can fix Fields. Somebody thought they could fix Trey Lance. The Dallas Cowboys traded, move off Fields, okay? Because looking at it right now, we're only 2 games in. But Bryce Young looks better 2 games in than a third-year Justin Fields. He looks better than third-year Justin Fields. 2 games in, Bryce Young, even though he's 0-2, he makes those quick decisions is what it takes. But he's also got an offensive-minded head coach and no weapons. Justin Fields got a defensive-minded head coaches and weapons for days, and he can't do anything. He's very strong. He's very athletic. We said that up in Buffalo. There was a knock on Fields. There was a knock on Fields in college that was debunked, supposedly now, air quotes, that he was not a good book guy. He was not a good film study guy. Well, when there's smoke, there's usually fire. That came out about Kyler Murray. Now it's obviously the Arizona's trying to tank and they're trying to dump Murray. So a lot of people were on notice. Again, I do not blame Poles because he didn't bring in Fields. I felt like he was pressured into, in a roundabout way, the general manager, by ownership and upper management to give Fields at least 1 more year. I feel that way. But they're going to have a couple first-round picks now because Carolina's losing. They're going to have theirs. They're going to have Carolina's. Do you go out and try to get one of these quarterbacks and start over from there? My thing is, Pickle says Bo Nix. Yes, Bo Nix will be playing on Saturday. I don't know if Bo Nix is going to be that good. I don't know. I mean, the Florida State's got a good Travis Hunter. I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks out there. You notice I didn't say Joe Milton. I'm not going to. So that's the big deal. That's the big story of today, Wednesday. Man, I better hurry up. It's 7:19. Okay, Joe Burrow, been wanting to talk about this for a few days. Anybody that's betting out there, do not touch Cincinnati with the 10-foot pole, okay? Joe Burrow, speaking of leaning on the freaking quarterback in Cincinnati pickles, he's not 50%. Joe Burrow is not 50%, folks. He injured his calf back on July the 27th. I did the math on that. That was about 6 weeks. Calf injuries. I looked this up a while back. Over the summer, we talked about this. They're usually about 10-week injuries. They rushed him back. You cannot, Zach Taylor, head coach there. I understand you gave him a big ownership. You gave this guy a massive contract extension. He's all that in a cup of soup. This guy was a clown that was going to get fired. Zach Taylor criticized by other coaches. or not other coaches, former players, sports talk radio. You guys know it. I know it. We've heard it. Zach Taylor was, but there a lot of money spent on Orlando Brown at left tackle, and this team, Joe Mixon taking the big pay cut. They're looking forward to it's Super Bowl bust inside that locker room. They know that those two receivers, the payday's about to come up for them. I would dump Higgins, but that's my opinion, because they've also got the other guy there, the slot guy, who's not bad. Then Jamar Chase and Higgins. Anyways, Boyd's still under contract. My thing is Zach Taylor is he's pushing it right now. We're playing it day by day. They play the Rams on Monday night. Listen, coach, he hasn't thrown a pass over 15 yards. This guy's throwing bombs in the last 2 seasons. They're in the NFC Championship game last year with the banged up offensive line. They're in the Super Bowl the year before that with the jacked up offensive line. Okay. And he's wearing guys out, and you're saying that he's kind of sore here. He re-aggravated it. No, it was always aggravated. He was never 100%, and you know that, coach. He knows he's not 100%. You've got this backup here, this Jake Browning, who's been with your team since 21, okay? So if it's me, and from what I'm seeing, folks, they've got the Rams on Monday night. They got to play at Tennessee. They match up really well, but that's a short week. You Tennessee Titan fans, you're playing Cleveland Monday after a Monday night game where Pittsburgh beat the crap out of them physically, knocked their running back out of them. But they're going to be ticked off because they lost. Then Tennessee plays Cincinnati next week, but it's here in Nashville after they play the Rams, and this Ram team's much better than one would think. So anyways, then they got to play Arizona and Seattle. Then they have a bye week in week 7. Okay. So my thing is, if you got to bench this guy for 4 weeks and go 500 and you're 2-4 after the week 6 bye week, when you got an actual healthy Joe Burrow, I picked this team to go to a Super Bowl and win it. You could do it. This team could put together 3, 4, 5, 6 game, 7 game, 10 game winning streak. They're that talented. But if you want to play scared and coach scared and push it and short pass and play it that way, and this guy tears his Achilles and he's out for over a year, man, I'll fire that coach on general principle if I'm Mike Brown, the owner / general manager. So, and of course, we're an offensive-minded driven league, then you got to go replace him. So they're between a rock and a hard place. But as a coach, you have to save these players from themselves. Joe Burrow is always available. In Joe Burrow's mind, that's how he got this kind of success. But you got to stop Joe Burrow and say, son, I know you're not that healthy. I know you're not 50%. Stop telling me it's not sore today. We're going to have to get a second opinion on this calf so that it doesn't turn into Achilles tear, and that's a much more serious injury. Here is, see if I can find this soundbite here, folks. Soundbite I found from earlier today with, here it is. Here's Zach Taylor on Rich Eisen's show.
Well, we played 2 really good divisional teams. And so, again, as part of the early part of the season is finding your identity and finding different ways to win and just steal some wins early in the year before you get to your groove. And unfortunately, we're 0-2 right now, same as we were last year. But this team is made of the right stuff. We've got confidence in what we can do going forward in these next 15 weeks. And we feel good about where we're going to be at.
Okay, and offensively, have things been off because Joe's not 100%? Zach?
We felt pretty good last week. We had 7 possessions, scored on 3 of them, and then throw a pick in the end zone on the 4th one. So
you scored on 3 of them. This team's best cornerback was out with Baltimore, okay? Their center was out. Their left tackle was out. Mind you, Lamar did play a great game. Good game by Lamar Jackson. And they have placed cornerbacks on Cincinnati. But come on, man. Come on,
What has
man.
been off? Do you
battle and you're going to have limited possessions. So we weren't able to maximize everything
Here's-
we did. But I
Continue.
feel like we're moving in the right direction.
okay? That was also my sneaky way of trying to get into have you talk about your quarterback's health, Zach. You kind of
I'm pretty well schooled in this question. He really it's been an encouraging early part of the week. I've learned enough in my 5 years here to not assume anything.
Right.
We'll just take it day to day with him. He's been a little sore early in the week, but we'll see how it goes.
Well-
I'm fortunate to get an extra day here.
well, is there a conversation being had about seeing the bye week imminent? I mean, imminent might be too tough of a word, but it is closer than it appears, right? And that you might have a conversation to try and give him the same amount of time off that you were afforded because of how early in the summer that Joe got hurt. Any thoughts about that on the table right now?
I think the number one thing is Joe's health and making sure he's healthy in the short term and the long term. So that's the focus point of any decision we'll make going forward. And talking to him and seeing how he feels.
Yeah, he totally dodged that question. So what I decipher out of that coach speak, Pickles, is for what he just said, that is on the table. And I just mentioned that bye week coming up in week 6, week 7. Okay, again, they play the Rams on Monday night. They play Tennessee, who would love to get a piece of them. Trust me, I'm Nashville. I talked they'd love to knock them out of their misery, man. And they got the firepower to do it with Jeffrey Simmons and Arden Key. And that, as much as I like the Titans and everything, I'm down here in Nashville. I would hate to see the Titans be the team that tears this guy's Achilles, man. We talked about Nick Chubb last night, that the league is not good without the stars, especially the quarterback stars. What he needs to do is get another opinion on that calf and try, like Rich Eisen said, and he didn't say absolutely not. Zach Taylor didn't say absolutely not. We're not going to go with the bye week. No, he said that blah, 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 coach speak. Other words, they're probably thinking about it. So bettors out there, don't touch Cincinnati with a 10-foot pole. Matter of fact, I don't know what the numbers are on that, but I'd probably take the Rams to the points right now because they're going to depend on defense and Joe Mixon to win this game. And Jake Browning's been there since 2021. Zach Taylor's afraid he's going to be exposed as an awful head coach because his Lord and Savior, Joe Burrow's not there. Lord forgive me, I shouldn't use that terminology. But you get my drift. Okay? All right. I wanted to get that out. Been wanting to do that for a while. I'm going to do some good scope, bad scope. I felt like I have not addressed the UT Vols losing like that, Pickles. Okay. Bad scope. Let's start off backwards. Let's start off bad scope. Tennessee beating Florida. Tennessee totally outplayed with a must considered a bad Florida team, a 3-score game at once. Joe Milton was, way overrated. I read too much into media opinions on his arm strength. He was beat out by Hendon Hooker and a Michigan transfer for a reason, going to Tennessee, Florida. By the way, Tennessee won 11 games last year, folks. Beat Alabama, blew out LSU, who was in the SEC championship game. And Florida lost 7 games last year. And last year, they barely beat Florida. That was by a throw away from losing to Florida, who they were double-digit favorites. So they are totally zoned out by Florida. This team has to be 10 times better. They have to have overwhelming Urban Meyer type of coaching to beat Florida right now. Florida may still be a bad team, So I was way off about Tennessee. Now, I told you, I said I wouldn't pick it. I said it'd be 34-30 Tennessee. I would not touch that 7-point spread, and I didn't. They were never in that game. Joe Milton is not an NFL quarterback. He's just a guy that can throw a ball a long ways. That's it. I mean, he is not an NFL quarterback. He's 24 years old. He'd be lucky to play out in one of these semi-pro leagues. The USFL and XFL have merged. Maybe they do something there, but this guy's not an NFL quarterback. Okay, good scope. We'll talk about this with Keith Engel coming up. Deion Sanders pushing the envelope in pregame post chatter on opposing coaches with every single team. So you've got an issue with every single team that's played. And I said this could lead into a brawl. There was a pregame fight. Nobody got suspended. And then we heard about Travis Hunter, the late hit in the overtime game there to him. He's got a lacerated liver. He's going to be out the next 3 games. They're two-way player. Their top recruit. Their two-way player is going to be out. Deion's got to fix that. But I said that could happen. And that could be the downfall of Deion. I don't think it will be. I think he will learn from his mistakes. You could still do the interviews. You could still pump it up. I'm okay with bringing the rappers in there. Whitlock criticized that from doing that, bringing all the rappers and stuff. I'm okay with that. But it's personal and letting all that leak out about the coaches, that's leaking over. By the way, the kid who hit Travis Hunter, has gotten death threats this week, okay? Deion's had to calm that down. He's had to calm that down and say, nah, forget the kid. It's no big deal. Let's move on. Travis will be back in a few weeks. Let's not go there. He's going to have to tone down the rhetoric. Lot of viewers there, 9 million people. Only reason I watched it because I had insomnia. I couldn't sleep. That game was late. That game didn't come on at 9 o'clock Central Time, 10 o'clock Eastern. So that was a good scope. I talked about it Friday on the program with Carlos Madden, New Yorker Chavez. And again, bad scope. Not noticing week 1. Cleveland's D in rain was more than just Cleveland's D in rain. Joe Burrow and that staff not be entirely honest with the injury of Joe Burrow, saying he's a full participant, this and that. He hasn't thrown a pass over 15 yards. There's some problems there. I just mentioned that. And of course, good scope. Dallas's D, man, they played well again. 44 yards, 38 passes, good balance. That, by the way, 3 turnovers on defense again. Got a 30-10 win over the Jets. I felt like I was spot on. This team looks really good. Also, no interceptions, only 2 games in. No interceptions. There's a study done. Dak Prescott has the least amount of passes that could have been turned over in 2 games. There was some kind of other stat on that. There's a stat on everything. So I was spot on about Mike McCarthy. Good job, Mike McCarthy, with the Dallas Cowboys, taking over play calling, not getting past happy, realizing the strength of that team is Michael Parsons and this defense. And that note, man, we got a good guest coming in here. Keith Engel, baby. And he's got a great background.
Whoa, Robert Butler, how are you, buddy?
Hey, man.
Good to be with you. Sorry I couldn't make it last week.
Oh, hey, man, when duty calls, right? You know, I've had to work this past weekend. I had to work Saturday, and I recorded a bunch of stuff. Now I got to work again this Saturday. It's going to pay good, but I've recorded 2 games on college, and I may record 2 more. I want to get 1 pro question out of the way, and then I want to hit college big time. Okay, this is my assessment of Mac Jones. Please don't take it personal.
Oh, no, never.
It just seems like that everything has to be perfect to win with Mac Jones up to this point. I know it's still early in the season. What's your assessment of Mac Jones?
I don't disagree. I'm not perfect.
The sun has to shine perfectly.
And I've said this, Mac Jones is never going to carry a bad football team on his back like Tom Brady or Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
He's not that player. Things have to be better than they are. Do they have to be perfect? I don't know about that, but they have to be better than they are. The offensive line has not played well.
Yeah.
There's still too many penalties that are uncalled for. They cannot fall behind by 2 touchdowns. I mean, they're similar to the Giants in a lot of ways. You can't fall behind by 2 touchdowns. Well, they did it. They fell behind by more than that this week, but they're playing the Cardinals, right? You can't fall behind by 2 touchdowns every week and expect this guy to bring you back. He's played good football pretty much. Good, not great football through 2 games. I'm not ready to give up on Mac Jones, but if you're going to surround him with mediocre offensive line, then you're probably going to struggle, and that's what they've done. I'm not giving up on this team. I still like a lot what I've seen. They have not had one break go their way really in 2 games, and I still think they can recover. I think they'll recover this week against the Jets. I do think they'll probably be 2-4 after 6 games, but not out of this race.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, do you go out and get a high-dollar receiver? Do you pump up the money in the offense? Is it Bill Belichick doing the drafting still?
Well, it is, but whether it continues to be, whether it continues to be will be a question.
I think he's like Alex Smith, though, man. Everything's got to be just right, man. The season's got to be perfect.
I'm not going to tell you he's ever going to be a top 10 quarterback. I think he's good enough to win, though, with the right talent around him, and so far that hasn't been there. And again, the skill position players he's not going to elevate their games the way Tom Brady elevated. Mac Jones wasn't going to win Super Bowls with David Patton and Troy Brown. Right. I love Troy Brown.
Does he beat Zach Wilson Sunday?
Yes, I think they beat.
Okay. That's going to be an interesting game because the Jets seem better,
Yeah, I think I can see them beating the Saints, and I can see them beating the Jets the first 6 weeks, and maybe the other games they lose. The 3-3 would be great, but I foresee 2-4, but a team that's getting better. And I think they were 2-4, I believe, 2 years ago when they went to the playoffs. So
I hope the best. I don't want to see Belichick walk away from this team, and I don't want to hear I told you so by the over the top Brady lovers. The saying Belichick had nothing to do with it.
That's the problem with this the problem is that Brady left at the same time the rest of the talent pool was getting worse.
Yeah.
And
older.
Look bad for Belichick, and Brady went to a really good team and won a Super Bowl. And but I love Tom Brady as much as anybody, but they needed each other. Alone, both of them would probably would have won a couple Super Bowls, but they would not have won 6.
Yeah,
unless they were together. This is a group effort.
Yeah, it is, and that's all on the pro. There's so many big, but let me ask you this:
I will tell you this, though. I will tell you this: Tom Brady on this football team, this would be a playoff team. This would be a division-winning team. It would be.
You think so? You think they would beat Miami?
I do. He's played with this. Tom Brady played a lot of years with this type of talent on the team and elevated their play. He's played with bad offensive lines, and he gets rid of the football quicker than Mac Jones does, although Mac's getting rid of the football better and quicker this year than he has in the past, making quicker decisions. But I think Tom Brady could possibly be the difference between this team getting to the playoffs and winning a game or, struggling towards the playoffs. So.
Yeah, Brady he was all that in a couple suit, man. He just figured. You give him a little bit of time, he can beat anybody.
By the way, that's not Tom Brady today. That's Tom Brady in his prime, not Tom Brady. I'm not calling for Tom Brady to come back, believe me.
Oh, man. Yeah, he's human too. Switching back to the college game, my thing about Deion, and I want to ask you this question. Do you think this rhetoric will find an issue, a public issue, with every coach that they face. And you saw the late hit on Travis Hunter. Now he's out. The death threats to the guy, the pre-fight last week. Could this stuff blow over and getting a bunch of players suspended and it just blow up in Deion's face? Or do you think this is just a phase and he'll get past?
I think they'll get past it. Listen,
Okay.
Deion doesn't get credit enough for being a good coach. People can't get past the sunglasses and
Okay.
you know, and because he's very clear. He's two guys. He's Coach Prime and he's Deion.
Yeah.
And when he's Coach Prime, he's there to put on a show and drive public relations and pack stadiums. Colorado sold out every home game for the first time in their history.
Man.
Never before. Look at the guys that were on the sidelines in Boulder last year. The Rock was there. When you ever see The Rock?
They're like USC back about 15 years ago.
Exactly. And that's what he's there. And you know what? But that's just one side of him. It's not just the show. He's a good football coach.
Yeah.
He motivates kids. Maybe he's not a great X's and O's guy. I really don't know. I'm sure he's got guys that are mostly doing that stuff, right? But he's motivating. He holds kids accountable.
Yeah.
That's his own kid last year before the championship game.
Oh, did he really?
Because he was 5 minutes late to a meeting.
Okay.
He'll hold kids accountable. Now, this other stuff, he spoke out this week, and I give him credit for the speaking out against the people level
death threat
against this poor kid. You know, look at
the
he made
safety that hit Travis Hunter. Yeah.
And by the way, I think Jay Norvell. Listen, they played really well. Colorado State played really well. They did. Was their championship game because it's not a good football team,
right?
And but you shouldn't give Deion bulletin board material. He makes up his own. He doesn't need you to give it to him. Now, will teams get up to beat him because of his rhetoric? Yeah, they probably will. But he's so far at Jackson State and at Colorado, he's backed it up too.
Yeah,
now,
that's true.
With that said, he's probably going to finish 6-6 or 7-5 this year. He'll be 3-2.
21-point underdogs against Oregon.
They'll get beat up.
Too much.
They'll get beat. I think Oregon's got a very good chance of covering this game.
Oh, wow.
I do.
It is in Oregon and no Travis Hunter.
It'll be at least a 2 touchdown. This defense is not that good with Travis Hunter in the secondary. The defense isn't good. They don't stop the run. Losing Travis Hunter hurts them on both sides of the football.
Is Oregon that good of a running team this year?
Oregon's a better team than they've been in some time. Dan Lane, they were good last year. They had a big blowout, if you remember, to Georgia early on, and they really recovered. Bo Nix played really well. Dan Lanning has already got a contract extension up there, or he's got this program back on the right track. And the Pac-12 is the best conference in the country right now.
Who would have thought, man?
8 ranked teams, 8 SEC elitists. I just left them all on my college football show.
Man,
Pac-12. It's ironic that they're likely to have one of their best seasons in memory on their way out the door.
Yeah, Michael Penix. Do you think Schroeder would say? Go to the NFL this year?
I'm sorry, who?
The son, Deion's son.
I hope he does. He won't. I mean, he's not going to be he's not, I don't see him as an NFL quarterback.
I don't know. Mel Kiper's got him as number 3.
I know. Mel Kiper also had Tony Mandarich number 1.
Remember, he said Mike Williams from USC would be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. I value your opinion more than his. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah.
But look, he's a great athlete. I don't think he's going to be an NFL quarterback, and he better not go this year. He's not ready for the NFL.
Oh, okay.
Now, there's other kids. There's a lot of good quarterbacks out there. Caleb Williams, Michael Penix Jr., Bo Nix. You got a lot.
Who do you think's the best one right now that you've seen?
I'll tell you what. Caleb Williams is the reigning Heisman Trophy winner. He's a great player.
Yeah.
I really, really like now I just lost his name. Michael Penix Jr. from Washington.
Well, he throws a great deep ball, don't he?
Playing great ball. Yes. Throws a great deep ball. It shows you what the difference is having great offensive talent there at Washington as opposed to what he had at Indiana. So that's this league is primed to have a great season. There's a lot of really good teams. Good matchups this week. Washington.
Yeah. So what?
Oregon.
Okay, Notre Dame, Ohio State. I think Notre Dame pulls it off with Sam Hartman, man. What do you think about that game?
I like what Notre Dame's done. I think Sam Hartman's a perfect fit for this team. Sam Hartman was a great quarterback at Wake Forest, set all kinds of records in the ACC and college football in general. Couldn't beat Clemson. There's a rap on him. He couldn't win big games, but you know what? He didn't have this Notre Dame defense there at Wake Forest, and he's a perfect fit for this team. He's a 6-year senior.
You think Marcus Freeman will have him ready? I think they played well this year.
They're getting 3 points at home. They're not getting.
I took them already. 3.5 is on FanDuel.
Yeah, I was just looking at what the ESPN odds had them at, but I love this team this week. They're doing what they can to keep the Sea of Red out of there. They had a problem there with Georgia, if you remember, a few years ago, where a lot of Georgia fans ended up getting tickets and sitting together.
Oh, you think Ohio State will do that?
They're trying to buy up tickets, and Notre Dame's doing what they can to keep them. The tickets that they did give them are like spread out all over the stadium, so they can't get a sea of red there.
Oh wow!
But
Who wins that game, Keith?
I think Notre Dame wins this game. I think it'll be a close game. Ohio State's better. Their defense is much better than it was the last couple of years.
Okay.
Their quarterback situation is starting to come clear. McCord has played much better. I think each week he's gotten better, and he's got really good wide receivers.
Marvin Harrison, man, he is really rated high in the draft.
Very, very good. And the other kid whose name's escaping me, he was hurt all last year, I think. He's going to be a high draft pick when he goes to the NFL as well. But I think Notre Dame, listen, they control their own destiny. They're only 9, I think, right now, or I think they're 8 or 9.
Yeah.
They control their own destiny. They beat this team. They beat USC.
They got to play USC, don't they?
Their next couple of weeks, they've got Ohio State. They've got Duke.
Ohio State's 6th, according to the AP.
That's right, 6. So they've got Ohio State, Duke, who's really good, Louisville, who's okay, and then they got USC.
Man,
they win those 4 games, they're going to be ranked number 1, because that will be the best stretch of teams anybody's beat in the country.
That's a big if, though.
It is
but
a big if.
They got the quarterback to do it. This guy's been around for a while, man.
I tell you, the game to watch out for there with Notre Dame is going to Duke next week. That's going to be a tough game for them.
Well, I heard that quarterback could possibly be a high draft pick.
He is a great athlete too, and he's got a good head on his shoulders. And Duke's another team.
I like him better than Daniel Jones, former Duke quarterback.
Don't sleep on Duke. Duke's another team. They're ranked 16, but
they beat the crap out of Clemson in week 1.
They kind of control their own destiny. If they were to run the table somehow in the ACC and win and beat Florida State, say in the championship game, Duke's got a realistic shot to get to the playoff. Now again, that's a lot to win.
Why is Clemson only 2.5 point underdogs against Florida State? Is there something I'm missing there? That seems like there's some kind of sucker play there.
Well, they are home, and it's a tough place to play.
Okay.
And Florida, I think a lot of that is based off of what Florida State did last week or didn't do last week at Boston College. But I think that was a classic look-ahead game. I think they were looking at Clemson and fell asleep last week. It looks easy, which scares me. That 2.5. I mean, right now I'm betting Florida State.
Yeah, Travis Hunter. I mean, he's even played a lot better.
Yeah, I'm not sold on Klubnik at Clemson. Dabo's starting to hear some, a little bit of chatter. Clemson has gotten spoiled the last 6.
I picked them to go to all the teams I picked to go to the playoff. 3 of the 4 has already got a loss, man.
I'm holding up there pretty good. I have Ohio State, which I think they'll still get there despite losing this week to Notre Dame, because I think they'll run the table and win the Big Ten championship, which will get them in a playoff. I've got Oklahoma.
Yeah, I thought that their coach was going to be fired too. I didn't really like what he did last year.
Florida State, and then I like Georgia. I still like, I know the SEC's down a little bit. Georgia didn't great last week. The second half, though, they were very dominant. I didn't think South Carolina ever had a chance to win that game once Georgia took the lead.
Man.
And I like Georgia to 3-peat.
Wow.
I really like Georgia to 3-peat.
Yeah. Okay. Do you see any major upsets this weekend?
This week, well, I mean, you could call Notre Dame over Ohio State a major upset because they're ranked higher.
If you look at the names, I mean, for instance, there's another big one like Iowa, Penn State. Could Iowa knock out Penn State?
No.
Okay.
No. Iowa doesn't have
Penn
enough.
State looks really good too, by the way.
Yeah, if that game were in Iowa, I would give them a better chance of keeping the score down and actually winning that game. I'll give you one I like. Still two ranked teams. Oregon State's going to Washington State.
That's the other one, yeah.
Giving points to Washington State on
Is
the
Washington
road.
State that good? Oregon State's great this year.
If their quarterback stays mistake-free, I think Washington State wins that game.
Wow.
Oregon State's really good, but so is Washington State. They laid it to Wisconsin here a couple of weeks ago. I like what I saw.
Man, and Wisconsin's got a really good coach now.
Yeah, Luke Fickell is there. Kind of
former Cincinnati coach, folks. That was really good.
Changed the whole offense there, and I like Washington State on what they got a really good chance. Ole Miss is another one this weekend.
Oh, that's the other one.
Yeah.
Can Lane Kiffin knock out Nick Saban? The quarterback plays much better at Ole Miss this year.
Jackson
compared to Alabama.
Jackson Dart's played great so far, mistake-free. Last year, he turned the ball over a lot. Was one of the big problems. They started out 7-0 last year, finished 7-5, or 6-0. They started. They finished 7-5. They're going in there getting almost a touchdown.
I'm thinking about taking that 7 to 7.5.
Alabama's got a lot of problems. It's not just the quarterback's a problem, but their offensive line. They gave up like 6 or 7 sacks last week.
They struggled against South Florida.
Wide receivers aren't that good. South Florida won like one game last year, 2 games.
Oh my God!
Bama's got no business winning that game for 17-3. None.
Who would you go with, man? They've got 3 quarterbacks.
They're going to start Milroe. They're going back to him. I mean, he's the most talented guy, the most athletic guy. Turnovers have been a problem early in the year.
Do the read option, right?
Yeah, they're going to have to go a little old school. And
oh my God, Lane Kiffin will never hear the end of it if he beats Saban.
Well, listen. You won't hear the end of it from him. Is that what you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, he runs. You know how he runs it.
Absolutely.
He's kind of like the white Dion. He's the poor man's Dion.
It's a great comparison because he doesn't get the credit he deserves as a coach. He's a really good coach, Lane Kiffin, but he's very polarizing at the same time. So you kind of lose sight of that. If you don't like him, you think he's a bad coach.
Pickle says he'd give a go pull the beat. Bama's down right now, As much as I'm down on Tennessee, I think they could beat Alabama. And Tennessee, who got humiliated by Florida last week. Godly.
Florida, people were picking them to win 3-4 games this year to go there and lose. And this is a big win for Billy Napier at Florida because he's got himself in some
You
trouble.
think that keeps his job?
That alone? No. He's
okay. I don't either.
I think he's got to finish over 500. If he finishes under 500, he's going to lose his job, I think.
They got one of the hardest schedules in the history of college football next year.
Oh, next year it's a gauntlet.
Texas and everybody. Who's the best team in college football, Keith, right now, in your opinion?
Until Georgia gets beat, it's Georgia. But
okay, it's still Georgia.
I do, but of the teams I've watched play this year, and they still need to get tested, but Washington right now, I think, is playing the best football of anybody in the country.
Because they beat up on Michigan State that bad?
They have. I don't think they've won a game by less than 35 points.
Okay.
Again, Michigan State's in disarray there with the whole Mel Tucker situation.
Oh, man.
But it's an impressive.
But that's still a big road win, though.
You go into the Big Ten and win against, one of their better historically speaking teams by that kind of score, plus the way they played at home against some other teams. Tulsa, I know it's not great competition, but they played as well as anybody in the country.
Yeah.
But until Georgia gets beat, it's Georgia in my mind.
Wow. Georgia. Well, I don't know anybody. I mean, maybe Michigan. I don't know.
Michigan's good. Michigan's
Yeah.
good. JJ McCarthy didn't have a
Yeah.
good game last week.
What about Texas? You think Texas are going to live up, or is it just maybe Alabama's just down?
Here's the problem. I mean, that win looked really good 2 weeks ago, and it's still a good win for Steve Scarsazian because he hasn't had that type of win
Right.
in his on his resume. But as Alabama looks bad after that, the win doesn't look as good. You know,
Yeah, they got to play Oklahoma in a couple of weeks. No.
They do. I said before the season started, I did predict either Texas or Oklahoma would win the Big 12 on their way out. I think it's going to be Oklahoma because I've got them as a dark horse to get to the.
Is that a guy? Is that quarterback a true freshman?
Yes, I believe so.
And you still think that they're going to beat Texas? Texas ran them off the field last year.
I do. The Red River rivalry is one of the best rivalries.
I love that game.
Football. And this one's going to have a lot of meaning to it.
Yeah.
I just think Brent Venables got something to show out there because he went 6-7 last year. That team had better than 6-7 talent. He was getting a lot of heat.
Oh, I thought he was done. I thought he was over his head.
It was close. I think if they went in the tank again this year, they played impressively. Again, they haven't played anybody to speak of, but
probably Auburn, Chad. But Texas has got that's a good question.
Yeah, Auburn 3-0. Hugh Freeze off to a good start. They haven't played anybody of note either.
Is Jimbo Fisher on the hot seat?
He's on the hot seat. He loses this game, that seat's going to be on fire because they're paying him $10 million a year. His record in the SEC since he got there is 23-18.
Oh yeah, and they Miami, it's like they laid down for Miami. They had an early lead, and they made one stupid mistake after another with Miami. They played into Miami's speed, and I never heard the end of it from Carlos because he said Miami would win, and they did.
He told me Texas A&M would win. This is how he can say
I record our shows, and I tell him, hey, look, this is what you said. And I put him in the podcast. Oh, he's 2-0 over me, and I'm not going to hear the end of it because Baltimore won. They beat Cincinnati. But going to talk about the pros for a second, they've been hiding that Joe Burrow injury. Zach Taylor. Joe Burrow's got a calf injury, man.
Yeah, again, the NFL's got rules about these things, but they don't. Nobody tells
they don't go, but nobody, abides by them,
And by the way, if you're going to get in bed with gambling sites, you got to tell the truth about injuries so you aren't cheating people out of their money, by the way.
Right. Yeah, I think Texas A&M will beat Auburn, Chad. Auburn struggled. They struggled at like Cal this year.
Yeah, I like A&M in this game here. Hugh Freeze, I think, will get Auburn back on the right track, but I don't think it's going to take a little time. And I think A&M's got to win this game. The
Pickle says he said something. Special agents Peanut Tillman helped the rest of the Bears coach. I heard something about that. I didn't catch all that. I don't know if you heard the news about the Bears. A big pile of crap hit a fan in Chicago.
Well, I heard
the coordinator stepped down.
Yeah, health reasons. I heard, but that's not true.
Huh?
I heard he resigned for health reasons. That's not true.
Yeah. Well, yeah. They lost to Tampa. Gave him a heart attack.
What's the real reason he got fired? Because they're so bad?
Yeah. And Justin Fields said the coaching is making me think too much. And then he had to come back. He had to come back and do another press conference. I mean, it's crazy up there in Chowtown right now.
Well, that's crazy. So the quarterback speaks out about the coaching, and they fire the defensive coordinator.
Yeah. The Pickle says I did see to what Pickle said. Ian Rappaport put something out on the X app about that. I didn't catch all the details to that. Something to do with the FBI and the Bears management. Bears just had a bad day today, man. So everything's going bad for the Bears.
Yeah, I missed the FBI involvement in this story. I'm going to have to dive into that after.
I'll have to look into it too. Yeah, I thought Ian Rappaport was being sarcastic because all the other news that's happened.
Well, what is it? Is it gambling? What is the deal?
I don't know. I'll have to look into it. I don't know. So,
if it's gambling, I'm like, I have this issue with the NFL.
Probably gambling, like you said.
If it is, the NFL has brought this on themselves.
Yes.
getting into bed with these gambling sites. They never should have done this. And, I mean, I don't know. I won't speak until I know what's going on there.
Yeah. Do you know Jeremy Ballrick, by the way? He does a podcast about the Lions. He works with Dave Harris and his group.
Oh, yeah. I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah, I've got to get off here and go on his show because he came on yesterday. He's giving me an update on the Lions, which he's bummed out that they lost, but he's optimistic they could still win the North.
Well, they're not a bad football team, but Seattle's a good football team. I was surprised they lost at home to the Rams week 1.
Yeah.
I have Seattle going to the Super Bowl. I love that team.
Really? Did you see their injury report today? A lot of guys that not even practicing.
Well, they play 17 games, so that's okay.
DK Metcalf out, or not out, but ribs, didn't practice. Devin Bush, shoulder. Colby Bryant, toe. Julian Love, hamstring. Will Disley, remember Walt Disney, the tight end there, shoulder. He didn't. Charles Cross, toe, didn't practice. Just a whole list of guys, man.
Well,
but it's early, They got Jason Peters to help out at left tackle. Even though he's 100 years old.
He is about as old as I am. So,
man, I can't wait. I'll have to bring it back at some point, man. So you're calling for Florida. You're saying Florida State will beat Clemson?
Yes, definitely. Florida State beats Clemson. Absolutely.
And you do like Notre Dame with that upset.
I like Notre Dame at home. I love home dogs as a rule. Clemson aside, you give me home dogs. That's why I like Notre Dame a lot. I like Washington State a lot this week. They're my two. Those are my two top picks.
And you're saying Oregon covers that 21?
And I probably will not put any money on it, but I will tell you I think they will cover the 21
because of the overtime game last week. Everything.
I look at watching this Colorado team. It's impressive what Deion's done to turn this around so quickly.
Yeah.
But the reality sets in here, and I think this is not a good defensive football team.
If Colorado wins, what happens to the media coverage of Colorado if they beat Oregon?
It won't go away yet.
It'll go over the top, wouldn't it, if they beat Oregon?
If they beat Oregon,
his head will explode.
They'll be talking national championship if they beat Oregon. Problem is, next week they got USC.
See, that's a lot of hype because you got the potential number 1 overall pick.
Yep.
Schroeder Sanders' stock keeps going up. It's in Colorado. All those shows are going to be in Colorado again.
Actually, ESPN is at South Bend, I think, this week.
Well, what's about next week? Do you think it'll be in Boulder?
I don't know. They already been to Boulder.
But you know how this media, they just love Deion, man.
Yeah, you know what? That's what he likes. He likes it. Yeah. He wants the attention on him. He likes to bring it. Look at, he's bringing money into that school. He's getting people in the seats. He's getting a rock on the sideline.
And he's also,
what
do you call it? He's trademarked the word prime and stuff.
Yeah. Again, people are going to dislike him because of his personality, but
his commercialism and everything and all that hype.
He's turned out to be a really good football coach. And perspective's everything. Before the season, everybody said if you win 6 games, that'd be wonderful. Now that he's won 3, his first 3 and some in impressive fashion, if they go 6-6 now, people are going to be disappointed. And that's,
I thought they'd win about 8 games because I read about all those transfers. I didn't think they'll win 10.
At best, I think they win 7 games.
Okay.
I said 6-6 before the season. I might even stick to that 7 tops.
Yeah, they've been lucky. And now Hunter's already out, so we'll see.
Their schedule is a monster going forward. I mean, other than Arizona State and Stanford,
like you said, the Pac-12 is huge this year. It's really good.
It is very good. Very.
Keith Engel, everybody. Your next show will be 8. Are You Serious, right?
Yes, the Are You Serious show with your favorite Mad New Yorker, Carlos Chavez.
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah. and that's on YouTube, Facebook. It's really good and really good. And these guys, they like to argue. They're like the Odd Couple. It's really funny.
Yeah, and Carlos likes to text me all during the first half when Daniel Jones isn't playing well, but then when he's playing like Johnny Unitas in the second half, I don't hear crickets.
He does me the same way. He sent me like 20 texts when Lamar Jackson has one completion. Right, you got lucky, okay? My guy Joe Burrow has got a calf problem, and the coaching staff's lying about it, and they're not saving him for himself.
Yeah.
You know? So.
That's not good. You might better sit him down and keep him healthy. Look what happened. Aaron Rodgers' issue started with a calf.
He's going to tear his Achilles, Keith.
That's what's going to happen.
All right. Keith Engel, everybody. Appreciate it, buddy. I'll see you Sunday, man.
Have a good weekend.
You too, man. Thanks again. All right, everybody. I will be on, if you want to follow me, I will be on here in the next show in just a few minutes. This will be on YouTube. Kneecap biting with Smoking Jeremy, Jeremyb. Look that up. Kneecap biting with Smoking Jeremy B. We'll talk about this week's games in the NFL, folks. Let me get off here. I've got to download this program to the podcast, and I'll be on Jeremy's show here in just a few minutes. Thank you, everybody. Otherwise, I'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, here on Sports Talk.